How many people think they communicate well? Okay. We've all been communicating all of our lives, right? We've been communicating since we were in the womb. And ask any mother expectant mother who eats some spicy Mexican food, your child will let you know if he or she doesn't like that spicy Mexican food. We've been communicating all of our lives. So we think that we're really good at communicating, but when it comes down to getting a point across, getting some information across, we sometimes tend to fail miserably. And I really think, a lot of times when I ask this question, people say, well, we're nervous, we're afraid, we don't like speaking in public. And seriously, I don't know if anybody's a Seinfeld fan, but Seinfeld used to do a bit about the number one fear people fear more than death is speaking in front of a group of people. People would rather die than stand up and speak in a group. And he's absolutely right, it really is true. But a lot of times people say, well, we're nervous or we're afraid or we didn't prepare. All those things, the nervousness, the being afraid, can all be ameliorated if you just prepare properly. And that's the biggest problem that we have, is we don't prepare. And so you become that representative for this company. And if you haven't prepared and you kind of stumble through like I did at the beginning, people are they're gonna associate that performance with this company. So there's a real danger in going in and not being prepared, because it can sort of torpedo whatever message you're trying to get out there. When someone gets up to speak, it's very much like an actor performing. Anytime you do a presentation, it really is a performance. And I know there are some people kind of going, oh, I don't like the feel of that. I'm a businessman, I'm a businesswoman, I'm not a performer. You have to prepare like a performer prepares. Can anybody give me some examples of what you see when you see a bad presenter? What are some of the things that they do? Have you seen the wandering speaker? Have you seen this guy? It's back and forth. Back and forth. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to talk to you for a while. And it doesn't really matter what I'm talking about. And why am I doing this? Does anybody know why a wandering speaker does this? What's the excuse? What's the reason they tell you? What is it?
Well, I think it's because they're nervous.
Right. But what will they tell you? If you say, why did you do that? What will they say?
They want to engage with everyone.
Trying to keep everyone engaged. The room is like 10 feet wide. You know, you're all right here. I don't need to come over here and talk to Jason and then come over here. I don't need to do that. I can sort of stand right here. But people do that. It's a nervous thing. And again, where does the nervousness come from? Preparation. All goes back to preparation. All goes back to that performance piece that I was talking about before. What's the key thing when you're on a team? If you aren't prepared and you go out on that field, what happens? And you're not in shape, or you haven't been working out, or you don't know the plays, what happens? Let everybody down, right? It's a team thing. It's the same as this. How much time did you spend working out in high school for basketball or football? How many hours a week?
So many I don't even know.
Yeah. When I was a high school wrestler, 15 hours a week. It was a lot of time. How much time do you put into preparing your presentation when you go out to talk to a company that's maybe going to give you millions of dollars for a contract? How much time do you practice that presentation?
Probably not enough.
Probably not enough.
All right,
Yeah. That happens a lot. And it shows. It shows up in the presentation that you end up delivering. And just like the team idea in sports, you let the team down if you're not prepared. You can go in, the rest of your team maybe is ready to go. You get one bad presentation up there, and it can torpedo the whole thing. I had done a training for an architectural firm, and I gave them my whole thing about performance. It's like a performance. You have to train like you're a performer to do your presentation. And you have to be entertaining. And this gentleman came up to me afterwards, and there had been some pushback in the room. Oh, you know, you don't understand our business enough to come and tell us that we need to be performers. You don't understand what architecture and engineering is about. I said, it really doesn't matter that I don't understand your business, because this is about how you present. And a gentleman came up to me afterwards and he said, I worked at another company before I came here, and we had gone in and pitched we had done a client interview, a big job. You know, these architectural things, they're multi-million-dollar projects. And he said, we went in and pitched, and we didn't get the job. And we called the client later and said, can you tell us why we didn't win the bid? And the client said, well, to be perfectly honest with you, you didn't entertain us. And their first reaction was, who wants to work for a company who feels like they need to be entertained? Everybody does. If you go in and you do a boring, dull presentation, especially if it's something, first of all, if it's something exciting like building a new building, but even if it's something that's more mundane like I would look at insurance. Insurance is, I'll be honest with you, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. So you really need to go in and you need to grab those people. You need to entertain them. And it doesn't need to be, doing the soft shoe and dancing and all that stuff. But you really need to grab their attention. And the only way you can do that is to prepare properly. When you have several companies going in, like in this case in architecture, you have several companies going in and bidding on a job. They're all doing basically the same presentation. It doesn't vary much from one company to another. If everything is the same, what sets you apart from the other companies who you're bidding against? If the cost is relatively similar, if in your case, if your coverage is relatively similar, if your customer service is relatively similar, what sets you apart from the other companies who are going in and bidding? You've got to have an engaging, actually exciting presentation. That's what's going to get you the job if all other things are the same.